Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Are you looking to improve your land and the environment for your cattle? We'll show you how the Natural Resources Conservation Service helps farmers and ranchers protect and improve the resources under their care.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Auctioner. We all know it's a big job to manage the land and water resources on our cattle operations, especially as these commodities become more limited and more valuable. That's where NRCS, the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, can play an important role. NRCS offers farmers and ranchers the technical and financial assistance they need to protect and improve the resources under their care. Here's a closer look at the work NRCS is doing to help producers in the Great Plains states.
Stretching from Texas to North Dakota, the Great Plains is a critical region for U.S. beef cattle production. But the health and productivity of these lands are severely threatened by woody plant encroachment. To fight back, ranchers are partnering through an NRCS initiative called Working Lands for Wildlife and a multi-state effort called the Great Plains Grassland Initiative, or GPGI.
I had the opportunity to serve on an advisory committee for the Great Plains Grassland Initiative. I was very humbled that they had asked me to do so. It gave us an opportunity to actually have rancher input. And so having participated in some cost share programs like EQIP in years past, it gave us some insight to maybe tweak those programs and maybe see where they could be improved.
We have a producer board that we respond to within Kansas. And that producer board has been alongside us from the get-go. They're actually probably one of the driving forces for us being successful in Kansas. And so for that ranching community, along with our partners, to step up and say grasslands are important and we have threats and we need to address them, that's probably what makes me the most proud.
What the Great Plains Grassland Initiative has really allowed us to do is it's really allowed us to have actual wins on the grassland. Ourselves and many of the other producers, we cut more and more trees every year and we feel like we have nothing to show for it. When Direct Tidwell came along and showed us a study and the Great Plains Grasslands Initiative started, it gave us something to really get a hold of where we could actually win and make progress on our grasslands. And that's really important to us, and it keeps that fire going so that we can keep going, make progress.
The Great Plains Grassland Initiative is kind of a new way to attack an old problem. And I like the idea of cleaning up your clean ground, seeing success, then going at the trees, the infestations, the heavier infestations. I like it. It gets you a little help on that financially.
Invasive trees and woody plants don't respect fence lines or state lines, so all of the Great Plains is seeing significant loss of valuable grazing lands and wildlife habitat. The challenge is bigger than any one landowner can tackle. That's where NRCS and the Great Plains Grasslands Initiative provides the expertise and the cost sharing needed.
This whole program stands on kind of three pillars. It's a rancher-driven approach, it's a science-informed approach, and finally then it's an agency-supported. So me as working with an agency is how do we come alongside there and support that effort? Because it's going to take that local effort. With Kansas being over 98% privately owned, it's going to be those local landowners that are going to get it done.
Ranchers and landowners are asking for these solutions. And so NRCS, we're just a technical agency that fits the need of being able to be in there and provide some technical assistance early on to groups as they're starting to implement the solutions that these scientists bring forth. But then also we can come behind and come alongside landowners and other partners and supplement other sources of funding to help landowners offset the cost of doing these practices and given them the incentive to do something they might not have got onto otherwise.
There is no boundaries. It's one big prairie, and being able to work together. Been trying to work from the outside in for so long, and we're just not getting anywhere. And this new idea with this new science has really shown all of us that we're going to work from the inside out, and we're having, you know, just better progress in getting rid of the cedar trees and just all the woody species. And with having that intact prairie, we're just expanding that wildlife habitat, the better grazing distributions for our ranchers, and it's just a win-win all around, for not just for the states, but for the prairie, the wildlife, and the ranchers.
Through these initiatives, farmers and ranchers are using a variety of methods to remove woody plants and defend the core of the Great Plains grasslands. The voluntary programs offered to landowners by NRCS are a critical part of the effort.
It takes folks like Dusty Taha with Natural Resource Conservation Service and Doug Spencer. That technical support is invaluable to us. So I'm not necessarily a grass expert, but I know one. I can call on him whenever I have a stupid question. I'm not a water systems expert, but I know a guy that is. I can call on him if I have questions. It takes everybody working together. It's a collaborative effort. And the boots on the ground management is what I provide, what I bring to the table.
There's a lot of help available, again, to get started on it. I would go to NRCS right away and say, hey, what do you have available, to see how that comes into play. And then also look at a burn association in your area and say, hey, how do we work these things together? Because there's not one solution to this thing.
It's clear that left unchecked, invasive woody plants will take over a grassland and drastically limit cattle grazing and wildlife habitat. The desire to protect these grasslands for the future has motivated many ranchers to take advantage of the partnerships available through NRCS.
We definitely recognize that this is a bigger threat than any one landowner or any one agency can deal with. And this is one of the reasons why NRCS is working on pulling together these summits and trying to get so many of these groups set up, these working groups and these coalitions to be able to provide resources to our landowners. Because at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is keep our ranchers ranching. And we recognize that the cedar and these invasive woody species are a direct threat to keeping ranchers ranching.
My recommendation is always, for any rancher that's wanting to get involved with any NRCS program, and especially GPGI, is make that local visit to the local county conservation district where our NRCS staff is and our conservation district partners are at. The best step is just to start having a conversation.
We always tell everybody, get to your local USDA NRCS office, start working with them, be the boots on the ground, get that free technical service out there to go out and see what's happening on the ground and start that conservation plan, because we all know that's where it starts, and from there, that's where good things happen.
We know the peril that it is. We're proactive. We're trying to fight back. It's coming at us. And the program, the GPGI, and the NRCS is helping us to meet that enemy as it's coming at us.
Reporting from the Great Plains, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Now, if you have conservation practices you'd like to put in place on your operation, you should start by visiting with your local NRCS office about the technical and financial assistance they may be able to provide. Go to the website nrcs.usda.gov to find an office near you. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, see how the Natural Resources Conservation Service is helping an Alabama family protect and improve their land. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
By installing Richie Waterers, you save water while keeping it fresh and always available to your animals. You protect the land by keeping natural water clean and soil healthy. And you conserve power because they're energy efficient. We're committed to helping you create a prosperous, sustainable, and regenerative future. Because we know, like you know, that every saved drop matters. Richie, fresh water for life.
It's time to vote for your favorite competitor in NCBA's National Anthem Singing Contest. The winner will sing the Star-Spangled Banner at CattleCon 2025 in San Antonio. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to perform on the big stage at CattleCon. It's all sponsored by Norbrook. Voting takes place November 1st to the 15th. To see the finalists and cast your vote, go to convention.ncba.org.
The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is a valuable partner for farmers and ranchers who want to protect their land and their water. Let's see how the NRCS provided an Alabama family with the technical and financial assistance they needed to reach their personal goals.
Father and son Stanley and Andy Sumners are the second and third generation of their family to live and farm in this part of Northeast Alabama. And they've raised South Pole cattle since 2006, a breed developed by Teddy Gentry, who is best known as a member of the band Alabama.
South Pole breed was developed by Teddy Gentry in the early to mid 90s, and he developed a cow that he felt was optimal on a grass-fed operation. South Pole is made up of Barzona, Hereford, Centerpole, and Red Angus. It's a four-way composite.
We have a registered full-blood herd of South Pole cattle, about 100 mama cows, and we produce seed stock for the South Pole breeders. The guys that we've been selling our steers to have seemed to be well satisfied with them. We've had customers that's come back year after year to, get more South Poles. Seem like their customers enjoy eating the South Pole beef, and so it's just worked great for us.
The Sumners believe that properly managing their operations' natural resources, like the soil and water, contributes to the success of their cattle business.
We want to make the wisest use of our resources. We absolutely don't want to destroy any resource or waste any resource. We always want to make sure it's sustainable, and what we take out, we be sure and put back into the land. And we want the land to be healthy, and soil healthy. I mean, that's everything to us here on the farm, is how good the soil is, the ability to grow grass.
Over the years, the Sumners have worked with USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service to better manage the farm's soil and water. The NRCS team evaluated the operation and offered advice on practices that could help improve their resources. One important early step was to implement a strip grazing plan, which uses movable electric fencing to confine the cattle in a small section of pasture for a short time.
When I say strip grazing, we're talking anywhere from 1/4 of an acre to 1/3 of an acre for about 50 head of cattle. The way we do it on our farm, we turn the cattle in on that 1/3 of an acre, and we limit graze them. In other words, we're out there, and according to the depth of the forage that exist out there, we may allow the cattle to stay out there 30 minutes or 45 minutes, hardly ever an hour, but we just sort of watch. We want the cattle to eat about 1/3 of the forage out there, just that top 1/3, which is very nutritious, and they enjoy eating that. And we move them strip by strip across the field, and within about 3 to 4 weeks, we're back to that original strip. And if we've got decent moisture and all, it's ready to graze again.
Overgrazing is still probably one of our biggest resource concerns that we have. It results in greatly diminished root systems of the plants. And so rotational grazing, even on some intensity scale, whether it's high or low, allows the plants to replenish their root reserves so they get more production coming back. They're able to recover better, and we have better infiltration from that. It helps to reduce compaction. It helps reduce runoff, and so we're improving our nutrient management as well as our grazing.
We've seen now that with our grazing management practices and all, that we can make the soil better over the whole entire farm. I can come out here at any time and just we've done a little test with a rod, and I can push a rod down, 4 or 5 feet in the ground with just one hand. And that tells me that the soil is really good. I can come out here with a shovel, and the whole shovelful is gonna have just lots and lots of earthworms, grub worms, and you can see the kind of the canals is what I call them in the soil. And the roots is down in there too, and that tells me that I've got some good soil.
For a grazing plan to really work, cattle need access to a reliable water source. So NRCS helped the Sumners install water troughs and heavy use pads to help protect the land and to allow for better distribution of cattle within the pastures.
We devised a plan and we tried to put something in that would give them a good quality water source and allow them to better utilize this part of the farm. We tied into the municipal system up at the barn, run the pipeline down and put our water trough and heavy use area in. Heavy use areas are very important, and this aspect is because of the mud. You get into the wintertime, you can have a mud factor. It's just not good for cattle to be standing in. We've gone to putting in the concrete heavy use areas, gives cattle a good stable pad to stand on. There's no mud problems, just seems to work a lot better here.
NRCS offers not only technical and design support, but also cost sharing to help put plans into practice.
Financial systems, it just makes things a little bit more achievable. I think the bottom line on these farms are so razor thin between profit and loss. I think it just gives them an incentive to put in practices where they may not have done it otherwise.
Me and my wife got married in 1975, which seems like a long time ago now. We were able to buy the 40-acre old cotton farm that was next door to us, which it didn't have any pasture on at all. NRCS cooperated with me and done cost share on planting permanent pasture in that field there. And even today, I'm still grazing cattle on that original fescue pasture, so that meant everything to us because we were just starting out from scratch.
At the Sumners farm, the land and cattle are healthy and thriving, and they believe that other farmers and ranchers can benefit from NRCS financial and technical assistance for their own conservation projects.
It needs to be something that they're passionate about, something that they want to do. Sometimes I think where our role comes in is to kind of show them some things they may not have thought about or seen or wanted to do, and try to steer them in the right direction. Ultimately, it is their decision on how they put practices in, how they manage their farm.
At the end of the day, we were able to have a few more cattle on the farm due to what practices that we implement here on the farm. And in turn, that gives us a little bit more, return on the farm.
They're willing to work with us. If we want something changed or do something different, they can come up with a technical type plan that sometimes I wouldn't even understand how to do it, but they have the ability to show us some different ways to divide up pastures, the water capabilities, and how to make it work with our grazing plan. So NRCS has been great to work with.
Reporting from Alabama, I'm Russell Nimitz for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Still to come, we'll show you how NRCS is working to help test new technologies to improve grazing and resource management on Great Plains ranches. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You work hard to feed your herd and maintain your property. John Deere 6 Series tractors give you choices that fit your operation. 6E tractors are simple and easy to use around your ranch. See all the angles when moving snow or maneuver easily in tight spots with 6M tractors. Get more power and premium comfort with 6R tractors. Mixing feed, weighing bales, and loading goods have never been easier with new loader technologies on 6Rs. Ask your John Deere dealer to learn more.
CattleCon's headed to San Antonio, February 4th through 6th, 2025, where farmers and ranchers gather to shape our industry's future. Remember, if you ain't at the table, you might just be on the menu. Check out the latest in ranching at the Texas-sized NCBA trade show. Network, learn, and grow your operation. Don't miss this chance to steer the cattle biz in San Antonio, where the Alamo spirit lives on. Visit convention.ncba.org to get registered. CattleCon 2025, where the beef industry meets.
The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service works to help landowners protect and improve the land under their care. Sometimes that includes the use of new methods and technologies that can help balance the nutritional needs of cattle with the health of grasslands. Here's a look at a new way to control the movement of cattle and where they graze.
The tallgrass prairies in central Kansas are home to Mush Rush Ranches, a family operation that raises red Angus bulls and females. With a goal of keeping their ranch viable for generations to come, the Mushrush family is working with the NRCS Great Plains Grassland Initiative to defend their grasslands from woody plant encroachment.
Defending the core, to me, is all about intact grassland. So not only about trees, but having healthy rangeland in our pastures, against any invasive species, against bare ground. Really just looking at the health of our pastures and saying, what can be better and how can we make this better?
My hope is that we start seeing these defended cores grow in size, that we can actually share the stories of the mushrushes and those individuals that stepped up and said, grasslands are going to win. And if grasslands win, then the mushrushes win, wildlife wins, pollinator wins, soil, the sequestration, carbon wins, and so there's just a lot of wins on the landscape if we can keep this prairie landscape what it is.
One of the unique ways the mushrush family is working to fight invasive woody plants and keep their tallgrass prairie healthy for both cattle and wildlife is with a research project testing new virtual fencing technology.
So we've had the opportunity to join up with the Nature Conservancy, Kansas State University, and some other organizations, including NRCS, on a research project involving virtual fence. The major frameworks of this project are to increase habitat for upland game birds, try to repair erosion along waterways. We want to see benefits of grazing along with burning and how maybe there's better ways to rotate through burned areas. And then we also want to change how we utilize areas, such as trailing along fences, cornering cattle, push them out of riparian areas to help with erosion, hilltops versus side slopes. Maybe we can force them into those areas that they don't graze as intensely and give those other areas a break when they need it. So this is the current version of the collar that we're using. It has a battery compartment with a sound vent on it that puts out a sound impulse to warn the cattle when they're entering an area that they should not be in. And then there's an electrical impulse that comes up through the chain, and that is what deters them further if the sound doesn't. There's a training protocol that we go through, and they learn it pretty quickly that the sound means don't go there, and so they quit going in there. And it just hangs around their neck. It does not obstruct grazing.
With traditional fencing costing over $10,000 per mile, the virtual technology has the potential to reduce cost and labor. And so far, Cole is impressed with the ease of managing grazing with a collar keeping each cow where he wants them to be.
So the collars that we're using utilize AM radio and GPS, and we're able to preload the collars with our grazing parameters. And so the collars can go offline from the tower, but because they have their own GPS chip, they will still work. And through virtual fencing, we're able to focus just on our perimeter fence and then not worry about the interior as much. And we use those collars to actually do the rotations that we have planned. And so using the computer program that they have, we can sit down and we can pre-map our entire grazing plan for the year and lay it out visually with satellite images. And so go out, do field notes, mark down areas that we want to stay in, stay out of, and then come in, put it in the program, load it up, put it in the collar, and away we go.
The project is gaining attention. The Mushrush family and their cows were on the front page of the Wall Street Journal in a feature article describing their virtual fencing test. And Cole says he's excited to be part of a collaborative project where partners, including NRCS, can pass on their results to others.
So with the partnerships, we're utilizing maybe new technology that hasn't been available, and maybe people are a little leery of adapting. And so because we're doing it through this research project, we're kind of sticking our foot in, but not, diving in completely, just getting an idea of what's going on. And so we can show people in the community like, hey, this is gonna work, or maybe it's not. I think it will. The technology has a lot of potential, and we're really excited to see how it plays out in the next 5 years and beyond.
In the tallgrass prairies of Kansas, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
And we'll be back to wrap up our show right after this. Stay with us.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
Today, we looked at the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service and how it works with cattle operations all across the country. Remember, if you have conservation practices you'd like to put in place on your own operation, you should start by visiting with your local NRCS office about the technical and financial assistance they may be able to provide. Go to the website nrcs.usda.gov to find an office near you. Now don't forget, it's time to start making plans to attend CattleCon 25 on February 4th through the 6th in San Antonio, Texas. Registration is now open at the website convention.ncba.org. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.